Welcome to Grief Observed. My name is Kevin Weaver and I'm your host today. And today on the program we have we have four very special guests. We brought on Cierra, my daughter-in-law, and Logan, and Jaden, and Ethan. They're here with us today because this month is National Epilepsy Awareness Month. And as many of you may know, Ethan was born 4 years ago with a very rare seizure disorder. And this, I think, is our third year now that we've had Ethan on. And so we brought the family on to discuss Ethan's progress. And the last year has been a year full of hurdles and ups and downs and mountains and valleys, joys and sorrows and good times and difficult times. And Cierra said, you tell me, you summed up last year in a word or in a phrase.
I would say it was bittersweet.
Yeah, a lot of challenges in dealing daily with a little boy who has, a developmental disability, and his condition is certainly chronic and really it's terminal. Ethan was diagnosed just a few weeks after birth with this seizure disorder. And now, Sarah, do you want to speak to that? What is his disease called?
So he has a rare form of epilepsy called migrating partial seizures of infancy. And it is a genetic disorder, but in his case it's not hereditary. Okay. So no one else in our family has it or will have it. But yeah, most of the children born with that don't live very long. They usually live a couple of years, and so yeah, we're lucky to have had him 4 years now.
Well, that was our first turtle as a family. We were given a prognosis of 1 year, and I know that our local physician that we've really leaned on quite a bit over these last 4 years, Dr. Alan DeWitt, he was amazed that, and I'm speaking for him, I know that, forgive me, doctor, but he truthfully thought a year was probably overly optimistic when we first got started with this. But here we are, thank God, 4 years. He's 4 years old. Now he's a 4-year-old little boy, but cognitively or developmentally, what age would you suppose him to be?
About a newborn development.
About a newborn developmentally. Yeah, you can see, Logan, if you point to that or hold that up, that little feeding tube sticking out, see he still eats through a feeding tube. Everything is blended. He's got really kind of a unique blend. All of you hunters out there would like this. What's his favorite food?
The protein in his food right now is elk meat.
Yeah. He gets a lot of elk meat. And thank you to all those who've donated over the year. We've got an elk and antelope and moose and just all kinds of help from the community. And we're really finding out day by day that it still does take a village. In those ways we're blessed to have that understanding. So we've kind of discussed briefly the bitter end of it. And of course he has this disease that he's not going to get better. We still pray, hope for a miracle. And miracles do happen. But we have to live day by day with this process. And in that process, many different things can happen. And so let's talk about some of the good things or fun things that happened this year. A couple of months ago, actually a year ago, we applied to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And again, thank you, Dr. DeWitt, for that. You were instrumental in making that happen. And the family, on Ethan's behalf, received a Make-A-Wish trip. Where'd you guys go, Logan?
We went to Legoland and we went to SeaWorld.
SeaWorld and Legoland, yep. They got to take Ethan down to the valley and they got on an airplane and flew to California. They had a little conference there. Let's just kind of divert for a minute. What was that conference all about that you guys went to?
Well, Because this is such a rare condition, there had never been like a conference or anything for the diagnosis. And so I'm part of a Facebook support group for MPSI, which is Ethan's diagnosis, and it's parents and caregivers on there. And I helped plan the first annual United States family conference, MPSI conference. And one of the lead researchers and doctors on his genetic mutation flew himself all the way from New York State to California to be a speaker for us, and a number of the families went, and that was the first time that our family met other families and other children with Ethan's diagnosis. And so it was again bittersweet. It was really a neat thing, and that was part of his wish.
Right. Well, and again, folks, that's the premise of a Grief Observed. It's not just to come on every month and talk about difficulties, but it is also to become a resource and to let others know that you're not alone in this journey. Again, Ethan's seizure disorder is so very rare. My understanding is that worldwide, I think there are less than 100 known cases. But even though your situation may seem unique and you may seem isolated, there are others that you can reach out to that can help. I mean, Facebook has been a wonderful tool to the family, and I know that Cierra has been a tremendous support to others, and I'm quite certain she's found support from others as well.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how I would have done it without all of the family and friends who have been there for me and been there for our family. So.
Well, and that's what it's all about. As I begin to, we're not supposed to be called senior citizens anymore, the baby boomers. We're people who are aging. And so as I've entered into that realm of the aging, I'm beginning to spend much more time focusing on the things that are so very important in life. And it really starts with family, and an extension of that, of course, is community. In just a little while, we're going to bring on a community member that's been very helpful and very supportive of this family and their journey. But for now, let's get back to your trip. You guys, was that the first time you were on an airplane?
Yep.
Did you like it?
Yes.
I don't like to fly at all. I would rather walk to California than fly. But you guys did okay flying?
Yeah.
Hmm?
It was fun.
You what?
It was fun. We got to see the ocean.
Got to see the ocean? Wow, and then you went to Legoland and SeaWorld, and it was to make memories with Ethan, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What was the best part of the trip?
Spending time with Ethan.
Oh, that's a canned answer, but a good one. Good answer. And spending time with Ethan, thank you for saying that. But for Logan, what really, for you, what did you like best about it?
Legoland.
Legoland.
Me
Legoland.
too.
And Jaden liked Legoland too? Better than SeaWorld?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
thought SeaWorld was better.
You thought SeaWorld was better?
I thought the roller coaster at SeaWorld was better than the roller coaster at Legoland.
See, I wouldn't even get on a roller coaster. No, I don't like rides. Your grandpa is not.
You don't like heights?
No, I don't like heights at all. I'm not very adventurous when it comes to that stuff. So that was lots of fun, and you got to go to that little conference and meet other families, and you got to go to SeaWorld, and you got to go to Legoland, and then you got to fly home. And here you are back in Cholo, and business as usual, right?
And for some reason, when I look up, I'm scared. Like, I'm scared of the sky.
Oh, well, because now you've been up in the sky. He said, sometimes when I look up, I'm scared of the sky. When you get up there, boy, it's big, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's really big. Okay, so for the next few minutes, let's talk about a day in the life of caring for Ethan. What's a typical day look like? Your day's not like other people's days, is it? Because your day usually starts out with a nurse coming, and a nurse takes care of Ethan while mom gets you guys ready for school and ready for your activities. So what's a day like? What's it like, Logan, for you?
Well, Ethan gets to eat food and we get to hang out with him.
Okay.
And then we eat breakfast and we play outside a lot and we have fun.
My day is like we go to school, we go to Taekwondo, and we hang out with Ethan and we feed him.
Okay.
Ethan kind of feeds a tiny bit,
So,
and we play outside.
so a lot of your activities are very normal, like all other little kids. You like to play. You guys go to Taekwondo. That's been important in your life. And you said you get to feed and help take care of Ethan. So I know feeding Ethan is not like other little boys. Do you use a fork and a spoon for Ethan? No, you don't. You have to put it in this big syringe, and then you have to squeeze little bits of food in it. And you can do that, can't you? The other day I was holding Ethan, and it was time for Ethan's feeding, and I said, Logan, come and push some of the food through the syringe. And Logan came. We don't have a syringe, but it's this great big plastic device full of his food. And Logan took it, and he squeezed it with all of his might, and the end shot off the tube, and it went all over us, didn't it, Logan? It was all over the wall and all over Grandpa.
Hold this thing while pushing it in. I just went.
So there are lots of little things that you have to know to take care of Ethan, huh? When Ethan's at home, oftentimes he has oxygen on, and so you have to monitor that. What happens if his oxygen gets too low?
We have to,
What, do you hear a sound?
yeah.
Yep, there's a beep that goes off, and so you have to make sure he's breathing, and sometimes you have to turn up the oxygen, and sometimes you have to put the oxygen on, and you have to sometimes suction him, and so it's not a typical day, is it? But it looks like talking to you guys, you still have fun.
And Ethan, we give him food and we place it in his mouth so he can taste it, and then we take it out.
Yeah, so I've seen them do it with blueberries and different fruits, just so he can taste and experience. Put a little bit of food on his tongue and just let him taste it, huh? Because although he's not what you call a typical little boy, he's still your little brother, isn't he? Is he important to you? How important is he?
He's really important.
He's infinity important.
He's infinity important? Wow, that's a lot. And do you love him?
Yeah.
More than anything, who loves him the most, Logan or Jaden?
Me.
Oh, you both love him the most. Well, we've got less than a minute. You want to wrap this up with anything? Sarah, would you like to add anything?
Just that as hard as his condition has been, I would say that it's brought our family closer together, and that through, such a hard trial, there's been so many blessings along with it.
It's ditto. I agree.
I have one more question.
One more.
Ethan is not the most thing I love God and Jesus.
Oh, wow. That's pretty special, isn't it? Because I think that Ethan has brought...
They created everything in the galaxy.
They did. They created everything, and I think Ethan brought us closer. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. And we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back in just a moment with a friend from the community. See you in a minute. Hey, and welcome back to A Grief Observed. We have on our show now, well, still Logan. We kept him on because he's our resident expert on dealing with children with epilepsy, so we may refer to you here in just a moment. And also, he's got a cool shirt on that I hope they do a little zoom in on so you can see that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we have with us Miss Ella Ludwig. I get that right? Ella is a friend from the community, but truthfully, over the last 4 years, she has really become more than a friend. She has become a part of her family. And I can speak on behalf of the family. We absolutely could not be this far in our journey if it wasn't for you. And I know that sometimes that maybe sounds cliche, and you think, sure, you guys would have made it. But truthfully, Ella, I don't see how we would have made it. And I was asking her just before we started, I really don't recall when and how you got involved, with all of this, and you may be sorry that you did. But anyway, why don't we start there? For me, how and when did you get involved?
I guess in the beginning, when Ethan was first born, we brought a meal over after he was born, and remember they were just figuring out like what was going on with Ethan, and that Cierra wouldn't be able to drive him anymore because he was at risk for aspiration, and so he couldn't be in the car. And they were trying to figure out how to get Logan to school.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I started taking Logan to school, and
That's right. I do remember that now.
so that's kind of how it started, just because I was there and I knew they.
So you said you brought a meal over, so you obviously you learned of the situation through the church?
No.
No?
No, I know Cierra through Celeste, her older sister.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
so we were friends before, but
Oh, okay. I didn't know
not-
that. I didn't know she had any friends before. No.
Yeah.
I'm totally kidding. Stop looking at yourself. Look at me. So, okay, so you got involved, and boy, this is a loaded question. Any regrets?
No.
No, because there's just something special. Of course, obviously, I knew you'd say that, and I was hoping you would. And truthfully, you had to in front of all these people. But it is the truth. Once we get involved at this level with families and people in our community, would you say it was life-changing?
Yes. I mean, if you are involved in a situation like this, it can't change. It can't not change you. Like
Right.
you can't go through loving Ethan and loving his family without it completely changing your outlook
Yeah.
on life and how you treat people. And there's so many changes that he changes the world that he touches. So.
It's true. I think of him as a little prophet. We don't have time for here, and it's probably not even the most appropriate places, but I know that Ethan has changed me and spoken to my life and heart, and in a lot of religious / spiritual ways. And he's helped mold and develop my point of view and my thinking with regards to religion or spirituality. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and I know of you as being a very religious / spiritual person, and can you say that he has enhanced? Has he taught you anything new?
I think he's deepened my understanding.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying
And that's one of the things, when you hold Ethan, like, it's not, all children are special, all children are wonderful. But when you hold Ethan, it's kind of like a direct confirmation that God loves you, that there's a purpose in life. Like, there's so many things that Ethan, by being around him and feeling, you can't talk to him and ask him what he thinks and ask him how he feels, but you can feel Ethan. I don't know how to explain it really.
And I don't think I could. I know exactly what you're saying, because I get it too. And I think he's even made me better as a human being in all of my frailties, because I know when I'm called upon to go sit with him, I do a little inventory. I check my mind, my thoughts, my attitudes, my heart, because I want to be in his presence as blameless or as okay as I can be. Because you feel like you're in a place that is, well, maybe more existential or not really quite here. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it's absolute truth. And it's not, obviously, I have a special bond. He's my grandson. But it's not just Ethan. It is people, children, adults with these various developmental disabilities, when I guess it's because many of them, they just live life, or they're just present in the moment. Mm-hmm. And he clearly is. Ethan is really just, he's just present in the moment. So yeah, your family has become very involved, very important to us. How does your involvement, because you're involved quite a lot, nearly every day, and sometimes hours every day, how is that affecting your life? Because you have lots of children and husband and a routine.
Okay, well, there are several ways that affects my life. One thing is that when I help Sierra, I've involved my children, even my 6-year-old daughter and my 4-year-old son. They get excited about doing something to help, and it's teaching them to serve and to not think about just themselves and what they want to do. They have more of a purpose, and so I'm not just leaving my family and going over and helping Ethan for hours. I'm doing it with my family, and it's teaching them.
You know, that's awesome. Well, because it would look like that, but yeah, you're right. And I know that to be true. It is, Ethan is one of those, involvement with his are those times in life when we used to teach. We get everybody involved. Because like we started out moments ago saying, it really does take a village. And so it is wonderful that children, your family can be involved in, and I'm sure that the lessons that they're learning through this very hands-on life experience will follow them into their adult life.
I hope it does, and it's helped me in other ways. I'll share something a little personal.
Yeah, well, of course, it's up to you.
I usually, in my marriage with my husband, I don't normally, like, we don't go to bed angry. I'm usually, if I get upset with him, I don't let it last very long. But I was really upset with him during Ethan's first year, and it had been 3 days that I was just kind of upset. And Sierra was in the hospital with Ethan, and in the valley, and I was changing her sheets and getting her room ready for when she came back. And as I was making her bed, I just felt all of it leave me. And I feel like when we help others, like, we're blessed in ways that we don't always expect. And that was a huge blessing to me, because I didn't want to feel that way.
Right.
But I couldn't shake it off.
Right.
And so that was a sweet moment where I was helping her, but it really was helping me that day.
Well, yeah, because these types of helps really do engage spiritual laws. A law of sowing and reaping. Some call it karma. What goes around comes around. But it's true, when you engage this law of giving, it does come back to you. You can't avoid it. And I know that's not why you do it. We don't do it because of what we can gain back. But it does, it floods back to us.
When you say floods, it does, you can say, well, I spent this much time helping someone, but I feel like when I help someone, and it's not, like you said, I don't expect it, but I always feel like I get more. I get blessed more than what I gave, always.
Yeah, I grew up in a small town in New York State, in a small little farming town, and of course family worked together, and family went to church together, and we just did everything together. And so in church, I always heard my family members say, you just can't outgive God, or you can't outgive goodness. When you do the right thing simply because it's the right thing to do, the dividends are really beyond understanding. They just, so much good comes from it. Yeah, you can't do enough good by people. Logan's having a real hard time staying focused here, because his brother's in the other room watching him, and he's sending signals to him. I can see that. But again, Logan, you're wearing a shirt. I wanted to stretch that out. I wanted everybody to see this. Epilepsy is Ethan's disease. And we've chosen for Ethan the strength of the elephant. And elephants, of course, are very family and community oriented. And that elephant is standing on a foundation of love, hope, and faith. And isn't that the bottom line? Yeah. What more can we say? You know what? I learned with this program that when time's up, time's up. Miss Ella, I thank you so dearly from the bottom of my heart for being here today, for being a part of our family and doing what you do. Logan, thank you for coming on the show today and helping us out, modeling the shirt. We said everything that we did today. Of course, we're proud and we want to promote Ethan's progress with the community, but we want to let each and every one of you know that you're not alone. Your difficulties, your challenges, you may seem isolated, you may be isolated, but if you'll reach out, if you'll share, there are many, many wonderful people in this community that are willing to be involved. So thank you for tuning in today. This has been A Grief Observed. We'll see you next month.